Peace, family, peace. Welcome to another episode of the OG Wisdom Podcast with me, your brother Tad, and my brother C Gutter on the check-in. Gutter, what's the word? How you feeling? Can you hear me, bro?
Yeah.
You can hear me?
Yeah. I don't know. My shit.
Yeah, I'm having problems hearing here. Let me see.
Oh, it's not.
Let me see. Let me turn my camera off. 1 second. Give me 1 second.
I look like one of them motherfucking. Remember the karate flicks where the shit go in slow motion, then the whole body move? That's what my shit look like right now.
There you go. All right, I can hear you. I have my volumes turned down. See, that's what's going on.
It looked like the remember the old karate flicks with a whole. It looked like the whole body moving.
Yeah.
In shadow. Yeah, that's how my joint looking right now.
No doubt. Shout out to everybody tapping in. We really appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for your time, effort, energy, and patience. Shout out to our sister Aruba 927. If your first time here, or if not, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Tonight we going in on a little Brooklyn Black history real quick. You know what I mean? Because Brooklyn has always been known for the culture, the attitude, and the influence. But before the music, before the movies, or the politics, Brooklyn was a battlefield for freedom, literally. Many people know about Fort Greene. Hopefully our sister K Fighter joins us tonight because she's from Fort Greene. But long before hashtags and headlines, Black abolitionists were organizing in homes, churches, and hidden communities right here in this borough, BK. They were building schools, buying land, protecting freedom seekers, and challenging the system that was designed to keep our folks in chains. Names like Frederick Douglass, Highland Garnet, Sarah Smith Garnet, Thomas Downing, James Week, who founded Weeksville. Founded Weeksville Village, exactly. And Maritcha Remond Lyons weren't just activists. They was architects of the liberation movement here in Brooklyn. They laid the groundwork for everything that came after: the civil rights, the Black political power, cultural pride, and community ownership. And here's the truth. Brooklyn didn't just produce culture, it produced courage, it produced resistance, it produced people who refused to wait for freedom and started building for themselves. So tonight, we're not just talking history, we're talking legacy. We're talking about the roots of Black power in Brooklyn and why their fight still echoes in every Black movement and every generation that came after. Shout out to Bed-Stuy, shout out to Brownsville, East New York, Crown Heights, Coney Island, Canarsie, all the places that make BK great. And speaking of Fort Greene, shout out to our sister K Fighter.
Some of these places don't make BK great.
What's happening, brothers? How y'all doing?
Well, I ain't shout out Bensonhurst, so.
Yeah, some of these places don't make Brooklyn great. I mean, shit. Some of the neighborhoods that we actually live in now were basically plantations back then.
That's a fact, especially in East New York.
East New York, Canarsie, and Brownsville.
Yeah.
You know
but you know, it's great now because we here. We occupied it.
Yeah, we done took it. We high-sided that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And that's what we do. Because, you know, I mean, first of all, this is for white people. If it wasn't for the Haitian Revolution, motherfuckers wouldn't have the amount of land on this in these United States, that the United States wouldn't have this land. They're probably French speaking or Spanish speaking.
Well, that's something that people are believe it or not, Gutter, what you just said, people are still debating on that right now. That is a point of contention for some people. I don't know. I said I gotta do
information is coming out, and a lot of information is coming out, so you got to get caught up with the information that's out now. So
yeah, I was about to say a lot of people. I'm constantly learning, constantly looking to learn more. But, let me try to move us over a little bit. Yeah, because you see, I got a few of our New York freedom fighters up on here. We got Highland Garnet. Matter of fact, let me see if I could just pull this up by itself.
Uncle Jesse.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, shout out to Uncle Jess in the house. You know what I'm saying? So here we go, sis. We got Frederick Douglass, Highland Garnet, Sarah Smith Garnet, Thomas Downing, James Weeks, twice, and chat be on some other stuff. And Maritcha Remond Lyons. Is anybody on this list unfamiliar to y'all too?
Nope.
I'm
this
not
is the
familiar
dream team right here.
Okay, I don't know.
The only one I probably got the least information on is Maritcha Remond Lyons.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Fill that in for y'all tonight.
That's the least amount of information I got on.
As well as Sarah Smith Garnet. Many people don't know that.
I know a Henry. Well,
Henry Highland Garnet. Yeah,
I just put them. You know what I'm saying? They husband and wife or brother and sister.
Husband and wife.
I assumed. Yeah, I always assumed they was husband and wife. So they kind of went through the same fights together. You know what I'm saying? Once they were conjoined, you know what I mean? Once they were in matrimony,
that's been the legacy of Black people. Yeah.
It's always been a team thing. It's like the dude ain't fought by herself, and the female hasn't fought by us. The woman hasn't fought by herself.
That's a fact.
You know what I'm saying? We always I don't know. We kind of lost that, but I think that's like we lost that.
Nah, you hitting it on the head, Gutter. You hitting it on the head.
We lost that. I think trying to enter
messing with that. Yeah, that welfare system. Get the Black men out the house, because prior to that, we was always fighting side by side.
I wouldn't even say the welfare system.
Nah, it was.
I wouldn't even say
that's when
that.
we stopped going to the crib. Because prior to that, even
but people were still married after that.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
That didn't change it. What I'm saying is, once we start to try to fit into this society.
What do you mean fit in this society? I'm curious.
Fit into American society. When Black people tried to fit in, we never fit in. We had our own society.
Right.
We tried to fit into the larger society. That's when everything started falling apart. And I would give that to integration more than I would to welfare.
I don't know, because we still married during integration. Black folks, shout out to my moms and my pops. They wasn't married to each other, but they both been married
after welfare. I know a bunch of people that was married doing welfare. That shit ain't, you know what I'm saying?
But I was talking about removal of the man from the home. But okay, I hear where you're going with it. Yeah. But to their points, we always knew that we was in this fight together, husband and wife. Even with the Dred Scott decision, because something our sister Keisha put me on to was that though Dred Scott lost the fight, his wife won her freedom. And that's something that's always swept under the rug. And if people are not familiar with it,
he won the fight at first.
Who did?
Dred Scott. He lost on appeal. They appealed it.
Who did? His plantation owner?
I think
the dude who came from
I
hate calling him a slave master.
Whoever was in Congress at the time, he hollered at them.
Because I know people quote Roger Taney, who says that the Black man has no rights that a white man is bound to respect. That was Judge Roger Taney who said that, based on the Dred Scott decision. But I want to stay here in Brooklyn, since we only got an hour for it, and we already got 10 minutes in. Sister K Fighter, what was one of the first earliest movements of resistance or abolition that you know of that started in Brooklyn?
Oh, in the 1600s.
The 1600s.
When we were enslaved under the Dutch. Contrary to popular belief, our indentured servitude, depending on who you was indentured to, lasted longer than it was supposed to. And so a lot of people ended up enslaved and then sold later on. One of the biggest fights came out of that in the 1600s, where you had Black men and women who were not only setting plantations on fire, but also kidnapping and unaliving the master's children.
Yeah.
And that happened right here in New York and in Brooklyn.
Yeah. They had a few joints in New York.
Mm-hmm. New York was always popping.
Listen, because you got to remember this. New York was probably the largest place for slave catchers.
That's right.
Dudes was kidnapping people and taking them back into the
That is correct.
You know,
To the
you
south.
got to remember there was slavery in New York up until 1827.
Right.
23 or 27. I can't remember. All right, it was slavery in New York up until 1827. So after 1827, they would meet in a restaurant called Sweets by the South Street Seaport. That's where they would do all their slave activity. Domino Sugar backed it. Citibank was one of the major.
Williamsburg.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, they had the slave catchers as well, who had their own little situation set up where, you know, it was illegal to transport slaves after 1807. So now you had to get it how you can get it. You either had your slaves reproduce, or you stole,
or you was trafficking.
Yeah, or you was trafficking. I mean, you was always trafficking, but you was illegally trafficking at that time.
Yeah. So in Bed-Stuy, we have so many freedom fighters and a lot of underground railroad stops there. Are y'all familiar with any of them? Gutter, are you familiar with any of the stops in Bed-Stuy?
Nah, I don't know the specific stops. I know they was there. They've been here in Brooklyn, but I ain't know the stops.
Yeah, Sister K, you familiar with any of them?
Yes, actually, you got Mr. Downing up on the placard behind us. Mr. Downing was a prominent Black businessman, and he was so bad, you know, he would host dignitaries. And so, you know, when these dignitaries came to his restaurant, he would in fact have people disguised as waiters and waitresses, and they were actually on their way to freedom. So very, very powerful Black man, Mr. Downing, and his wife and his children, actually. There was also a man who was a druggist. I can't remember his name right now. He's actually somewhat depicted in the series The Gilded Age, somewhat. But he too was a powerful abolitionist. When you look at persons like Maritcha Lyons, that was one of the baddest women on the planet. In fact, she taught Ida B. Wells how to debate. She was so bad. I mean, because she was born free. Her father and mother were abolitionists. Ida B. Wells, and another Black woman by the name of Victoria Matthews, they were very tight. Victoria Matthews, she wrote about and investigated sex trafficking during that time. And Maritcha Lyons helped Ida B. Wells when she wanted to publish her book. She actually didn't have the funds to publish her book. Maritcha Lyons, and I had the pleasure of meeting her great granddaughter. I was on a panel discussion, yes, with Maritcha Lyons' granddaughter. She sent me a copy of a book about her, because her actual memoir was not printed, but there was a book written about those memoirs later on by the family. So anyway, her parents' home was burned down during the draft riots. They actually received reparations, and they rebuilt their home, but it was burned down again. Actually, I think a total of 3 times their home was burned down. Yeah, because they were just bad. They were bad abolitionist family. You couldn't mess with the Lyons because they had money and prestige. And so after, I think the 3rd time, if I'm not mistaken, the family left and they went to Massachusetts for a little while, and then eventually coming back home to Brooklyn. But yeah, Maritcha Lyons, of everybody on this on this placard, she was the baddest of them all.
Oh wow! Now I know a Lyons family here in Brooklyn, in Atlantic Terminal. Shout out to them. I gotta ask them, are they even related to Maritcha Lyons? And they may be. It was one of my grandmother's best friends, and her children. Say it again, Gutter. That's right. Cheek was a Lyons. Yeah, Michael Lyons. That's a fact. That is a fact.
Yeah, I went to school with a Lyons too. So, but yeah. So anyway, her family, being the abolitionist family that they were, they helped a lot of free Black people settle areas in Brooklyn, actually. So moving into James Weeks, that's where the connection of, they come into play, actually. So, there's a lot of connection here with the placard, people on the placard. It's amazing how you chose these persons, but a lot of them have deep connections. But her family actually sued the school system because at the time when it was time for her to go to high school, there was no high school for Black children, in particular Black girls. And so they wouldn't allow her entry. So her family sued the school system. They won, and she was able to go to school. But yeah, that was a powerful Black family. They wasn't playing in the courts or in the streets with people.
Wow. I like what Brother Divine said. Shout out to our brother Divine, who was on that panel the other night on TikTok, and he was just slaying and regulating. But Divine says Pierce 9 is named Sarah Smith Garnet, which was renamed from a member of the slaveholding Bergen family, which is crazy because Pierce 9 is on Bergen Street.
And I went to PS 9.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I did as a child.
That's on Underhill and Bergen, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I went to PS 9, then I went to PS 67 in Fort Greene after that. But yeah, I went to that school.
But now let me say this. Look how crazy the history is.
By the time you got to high school, it was mad little white kids going there then. Tad.
Yeah.
It was mixed. It was mixed. By the time you was in high school, it was mixed.
Yeah, because I know Blacko went to PS9 too.
Yeah, it was Black people going there, but that
Park Slope side. Yeah,
exactly. That was
Park Slope side.
Yeah, that was in the 70s for me.
Yeah, that's when it was all Black.
And what I was gonna say is crazy is like the hidden history and how they play in our face, because I didn't know the Bergen was a slaveholding family, and to put that school there. And then, of course, in the spirit of Blackness, got Sarah Smith Garnet, challenged it, and the name was changed. So good looking out to that, Brother Divine. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of history where they play in our face, like you were saying, like Gutter, we was talking about the plantations, East New York. Yeah.
All the streets in the East.
Skank and
what is this? Yeah, because they were those Dutch things.
And what's the other name? Damn, they're all them joints. But Gutter, you last on Monday you was talking about the slave ports in Canarsie. Give the people a little history about that right there. Because people only equate slavery with the South.
See, I wanted to speak on that is people have to remember, like New York, Boston, Baltimore, Philadelphia, besides Charleston, were the major slave ports. Besides Charleston, you know what I'm saying? These was the major slave ports. See, and why people talk about Charleston, but people are remiss in remembering slavery was around. The shit didn't get abolished until the 1800s up north. So it was slaves all during that time. Why do you think they don't mention this in the books, or even when people talk about slavery and enslavement? Because at the time when cotton was king, the richest, the most millionaires were in Mississippi. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but all the people that was doing the connecting and making the moves and all that were all in New York.
Right.
Wall Street.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We all know we all know the history of Wall Street and how they used us as commodities.
Yeah.
And
shout out to Kaba Kamene, because when he was on here, he gave a brief history about Wall Street and Chamber Street, on why it was called Chambers, because they held enslaved folks down in the chambers along that corridor, which is very powerful.
Then, that's where that's where the African burial ground is, where all the enslaved black
folks was buried, because
they was behind the wall. They was on the outskirts because that wasn't considered the city.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All that shit was on the outskirts. Was what they call the outskirts of the city.
What's that book you holding up, sis? You know this
Nights.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Brooklyn Nights.
You gotta get this book. You gotta get this book. Brooklyn Nights, the remarkable story of free Black communities that shaped the borough. You gotta get this book. This is my signed copy, so nobody can get it.
All right. So Henry Highland Garnet, what part of Brooklyn did he stay in? Because we know him as a profound abolitionist, and people all over the country talks about Henry Highland Garnet. Mm-hmm. But what part of Brooklyn did he stay in, and what was his contribution to the abolitionist movement, sis?
Oh, he stayed in on I think it's Halsey Street. Halsey, yes, in the style.
All right.
In the style.
All right.
In the
style.
That was our at one time, that was our only place. Was the
that in Williamsburg.
Yeah.
At least in Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn.
Because
that's what I mean, in Brooklyn. In Brooklyn,
yeah,
those are our only refuges.
Right.
Because I believe that Take the A Train, performed by Duke Ellington, was inspired by Bed-Stuy and Harlem, with the A Train being the line that gets you straight from Harlem straight to Bed-Stuy, to the two Black hubs here in New York. You know, a little tidbit that I found interesting, because we do have a dope history, and that this is Black History Month also, and I'm gonna give y'all the mic back, but I just want to say this. What I find crazy right now is that Dr. King's daughter, Bernice King, has put out a statement in support of foundational Black Americans on how Black History Month will not be hijacked by people outside of the Black American experience. And now I see all the Democratic shills are changing their tunes, whether it's that dude Deontay Kyle and even Roland Martin is now changing a tune, when before everybody was so critical of foundational Black Americans. But now that you got an activist and an icon like Bernice King, Dr. King's daughter, who's also an attorney and of course a community activist and a social justice activist, it's funny how people are changing their tune. And I even seen Godfrey checking an African athlete about how Black people in America created Black History Month to celebrate Black American history. So I thought that was so profound, and that's why we said if we're gonna talk about it, we're gonna bring it home to Brooklyn. So we acknowledge that Henry Highland Garnet is repping Bed-Stuy. But Gutter, what's your information on James Weeks and his establishment of Weeksville?
Is that which the area around Albany Projects, Weeksville. I don't have the full history on.
Right, we don't need the specifics, but pretty much what you giving us in general. Yeah.
He's the one that created Weeksville. And
right,
it was the first Black community, you know what I mean, established in Brooklyn.
And I was during it, our folks were still enslaved during that time.
Yeah, that was during our time of enslavement. Yeah.
Because I want people to realize, regardless of how hard things may seem right now, we've always been a resilient people, a people who have resisted all types of oppression. Many people say we don't have a culture, but I like to remind people our culture here in America has been a culture of fighting and resisting colonialism and white supremacy. So I don't ever want people to get it confused. And James Weeks demonstrated that.
Our culture is whatever you like when you come over here. That's our culture, because they only got a culture of atrocities.
I actually got it in the book.
They only got a culture of atrocities here. Just think about it. Like, what did they create over here but atrocities?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So in this book, they have a outline map of Weeksville and the areas of Williamsburg and Greenpoint, the areas that we populated. Now you don't hardly see too many Black people at Greenpoint, but
and Bushwick.
Yes, absolutely.
I didn't know. That was crazy. Is like But I realized Bushwick was I think that was the 50s. The 50s and the 60s is like a lot of landlords is burning shit out. You know what I'm saying? And people were leaving, and the people that's coming in from Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, they stayed. They didn't, you know what I'm saying? They stayed. You know what I mean? So that's why all the motherfuckers is just dead.
Yeah. And shout out to David, IC Kingdom. Thank you for your contribution and adding on. And of course, our brother Divine always go in, holding us down. If y'all can follow brother Divine from Brooklyn, who's doing a stellar job in this reparation fight. So when people talk about what are the FBA doing, just direct them to brother Divine.
He was slaying all tethers the other night. He was slaying all tethers. I was cracking up.
Yeah. So and brother Divine said it was founded 11 years after emancipation in New York, but still going on down in the South and other states. You know, enslaved people demonstrated resilience by maintaining their humanity through the creation of secret families, distinct languages, and underground spiritual traditions that offered hope. And that's why we're here today. Keep that spirit alive.
Also, you got to think about just all over the United States. You had maroon colonies all over.
Yes.
That enslaved people was going back and forth to.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, they like motherfucker escape and go back home, but never leave. You know what I'm saying? Never, you know, they don't like people escape. You know what I mean? And then some people be in the maroon colony, and then they people is right here, and they don't be that far. Right. That's the shit that you know kind of blew my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, because we had like maroon colonies damn near everywhere, and the shit wasn't that far from where our captives, you know, our captive loved ones were, and we wasn't going nowhere. Right. So that just show you resilience.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know, New York was yeah, that's New York. That's his heritage.
Yeah, that's our heritage right there.
Yeah.
How to explain to people.
Great Dismal Swamp. That's where New York from.
Yeah. Sister Keisha, I see we got a picture of Frederick Douglass up here also. I know he delivered a historic speech over there on what they now call Frederick Douglass Landing, over there on Chambers Street by BMCC. But what significant impact did Frederick Douglass make in terms of the abolitionist movement here in New York?
Well, we got to take it back a little bit when you deal with Fred Douglass, because it was the abolitionist movement that gave him his freedom, right? A man by the name of David Ruggles helped Frederick Douglass attain.
My old junior high school, David Ruggles Junior High School, 258.
There you go. He was a bad man. He was a bad man. He was fighting against these kidnappers who were taking free Black people and selling them back into slavery. And so, you know, I know a lot of people like to talk about, and I say this often, the Underground Railroad and Harriet Tubman. No. Study the reverse Underground Railroad and begin with David Ruggles. Because, like I said, a lot of information has come out, and a lot of people are moving with antiquated information. It is antiquated, so you have to get caught up. But Fred Douglass was an advocate for Black Americans, and he spoke out heavily against immigration. He said immigration was a serious problem for Black people.
Now, this is David Ruggles you're talking about.
No, this is Fred Douglass.
Oh, Frederick Douglass, okay.
Fred Douglass.
Now, why did he say it was a problem?
Because when Black people attained freedom and they began to move out into the job market, one thing you have to understand is we was never suckers. We knew what we were worth, and you was going to pay us what we were worth. And so the power structure didn't want to do that. So they flooded the U.S. with immigrants, the Irish, the Italians, the long-nosed people, black immigrants. You all flooded into as being scabs for Black America, for free Black people. You were the scabs. And so not only did they have to retract that, because a lot of the people that they brought in here couldn't speak the language, right? And so they had to then hire these Black people to train these damn immigrants that they brought in. So Fred Douglass is like, wait a minute, hold on. You want us to work for you, train these people, and then when we train them, you want to fire us. So he spoke out against that. In fact, they beat him to almost an inch of his life, the immigrants, for speaking out against it. So he said back way back when that immigration was going to be a problem for the Black man. And he was absolutely right.
Oh, man. Cuddy, you was going to add on to that?
That's when they were sending all them Germans, Turks, Poles. You talking about right after emancipation, right? Yeah, Germans, Turks, Poles, all the undesirables in Europe.
Wow.
They wasn't white. They weren't quote unquote white.
Right. They were just European.
It was just European. No, they were European trash. All you gotta do is look at all you gotta do is look at old newspapers.
They were filthy.
Yeah.
They were filthy, unclean, didn't speak the language.
The pots to pissing people. People that was pissing in pots, throwing them out the windows. Yeah.
No, the shithole countries.
Yeah. The literal ones.
No,
man.
You know what I'm saying? And this was crazy. The white people over here was prejudiced against them.
Yeah.
So they wasn't white.
Absolutely.
Right.
They didn't get their white card until the 1900s, to the 20s.
Absolutely.
Right, because you had to be
the 1960s. Right?
Yeah, like
got these white card in the 1960s.
Oh, hold up, it's still going on because now the Latinos are filing as white.
The first ones that got their white card was the Irish. That's the
before the Italians.
Yeah.
No, it was the Germans. It was the Germans. Germans got their white card first.
They had to get an Irish state white card during the Bacon's rebellion. You know what I'm saying?
We got to look into that.
Yeah, read the book when the Irish became white.
That's only, but you're right, because that's only when they was the colonies. Because once they remember New York, when they had the draft riots and all that, they was against niggas and Irish. That's who they was against. You know what I'm saying? Because Irish was they felt Irish was taking their jobs. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't want to go to war for no niggas. You know that New York tried to the mayor wanted New York City to secede.
What, back then?
Yeah. Because they was like, if we lose, you know it's all about money. If they lose, how we gonna get our money?
Right. And that's when Brooklyn was still a separate city at the time, right? Brooklyn wasn't even considered part of
Long Island.
Say it again.
Brooklyn and Long Island was connected.
Right.
But all that shit is connected. But I'm just saying it wasn't even a county yet. I think it became a county in the late 1800s.
Okay. Enslaved people were smart as hell. They could tell you everything going on that plantation. They couldn't speak unless spoken to, and heard everything the white man said. That's a fact. And our brother Divine said, great book.
For the most part, is dumb and lazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they too dumb to realize a motherfucker hear everything they say. And they got them doing everything within, whether they shitting, they doing everything when they doing nothing.
Yeah.
We doing everything in the midst of them doing nothing and just running their mouth.
Yo, your man, New York. Can you get a soft shoe? Black history. I be trying not to read New York comics because he make me laugh. We be dead ass serious. And here he come.
I like what Devon said. He said that's why Black folks are still wary of training a new person on the job. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We were always replaced by those we trained. Always.
Yeah. And these are old playbooks.
Because look, you got to take it even to the plantation. They would have the slaves train white people to know how to do technical jobs. That way, you know what I'm saying? We not gonna let no other nigga learn this shit. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna die with this old nigga. You know what I'm saying? When this old nigga die, all that information, not knowing that nigga, you with the people, he with the people. So he's gonna teach them. They just ain't gonna show your dumb ass.
Right.
That's
and
why
we see what happens all the time with that. Because real quick, even when we fast forward it, when we look at what's going on with Unc and the tendonism whole situation.
Yeah.
Right there. You know what I'm saying? But then we can also see Wally Amos, Jack Daniels, of course, Aunt Jemima, all of our intellectual properties have been stolen and thieved from us, and it still goes on to this day. So when we seen the tendonism fiasco, we like, come on, man. Those of us who know, we know this playbook. But a lot of people, because us on this panel, we're a little older than a lot of people who's really functioning, moving in society right now. We no longer amongst the 20-year-olds
and most people don't read.
Yeah. They get their information from TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that. So that's why these conversations are important, because many people who position themselves as historians and authorities and educators, they would omit a lot of this information that we given here tonight. And particularly in this landscape right now of foundational Black Americans fighting for their position, to not be ignored, because like the dude Shabuzi said, immigrants built this country, which is an insult, because many of our ancestors were here, and those who were brought here as prisoners of war and victims of kidnapping. So you can't say it's immigrant.
I seen a funny TikTok joint, right?
Yeah.
They said, immigrants did build this country. Y'all got next to the power source. You know what I'm saying? And did that. That's why it's fucked up like it is. You know what I'm saying? He said, y'all, you right. Y'all did. He said, you know what I'm saying? Y'all came in as a source to block, to be a blockage or a hindrance to black people. You know what I'm saying? Because you always side with whiteness. You know what I mean? So the result of the country is, y'all built this shit. That's why you got ICE, all that shit bugging. Yeah, you built
coming to pack
that
you
was
up.
It was like a ironic. You know what I'm saying? Like the irony of it, like you say that, the current system,
that's collapsing. And I think I like what the brother David said. The wealth of this country was built on the backs of the enslaved, and the receipts are there. And that brings me to the next point I was going to make, as Sister Keisha was talking about Thomas Downing. And I want you to touch on him being an entrepreneur, using his money to liberate the people and fund the movement, because we have more millionaires and billionaires now. And we're gonna say they don't do shit. Sis, talk on that.
We got millionaire coons. I just did like, nigga, just gotta be honest, my nigga.
Yeah. Sis, you want to talk about that? Thomas Downing and other entrepreneurs funding the movement, and then you can either go into Madam Sinclair and the likes of those, when our folks knew that the money was a tool and not the goal per se.
Right, and that's you got to begin with integration. Integration was the knife in the coffin for us working together in tandem, right? And that's why King said, he feared he led us into a burning house, and also attaching us to the Democratic Party. Before that, we were not attached to them at all. They were the party of enslavement, and you had Black abolitionists who were heavy Republicans, because it was the Republicans. And y'all may not like Republicans, but I'm telling you, it is that party that gave us the platform for success right after enslavement. Now, when you think of Mr. Downey, here you are in a slaveholding state, not only in a slaveholding state, but a state where kidnapping of free Black people is rampant. So here they have this Black man who opens up a seafood bar. I think his number one delicacy was clams, if I'm not mistaken. But
clams and oysters, right? It was one of the shells. Clams, oysters.
Right, yeah. Oysters. I don't eat none of them, so to me it's the same thing. But anyway, you're right. It was an oyster restaurant, and his food was so good, and the ambiance was so good. Like I said, dignitaries came to eat at his restaurant. So it also gave him an ear to what the power structure was planning, what they were discussing, what their wants and dislikes were. So he was able to use that as a tool in being an abolitionist and fighting for his people, right? When people held tunnels and, ways of escape for enslaved folks, they pretty much funded those things themselves. Because when people see abolitionists, they think white and Black often work together. They did not. One of the things that Fred Douglass said, too long have others spoken for us. We wish to plead our own cause. And he said that because white abolitionists wanted to silence him or tell him what he should be doing. And Fred Douglass wasn't having that. So, these Black women, they had to work together because you didn't have a great preponderance of white folks giving you jobs, people allowing you to move in their communities and things like that. So they worked very closely with the Republican senators who were Black at that time, a lot of them, and appointed. But you had white senators and members of Congress who also advocated for these Black men to be successful to their own detriment. Like Charles Sumner, a white man who almost got beat to death by Andrew Jackson's nephew, because he said, in order for Black people to have political success in the United States, you have to form your own political party because they will not give it to you. And at that time, the Republicans were waning to the threats of the Democratic Party, right? Democrats said they wouldn't vote on certain issues, and they held firm to that. So you also had Thaddeus Stevens. Thaddeus Stevens also advocated for legislation specifically for Black people. He had a little bit of a bias because his woman was Black, but that was his cause. And so Abraham Lincoln went toe-to-toe with Thaddeus Stevens until, Abe Lincoln had to wane because the violence among the Senate was getting so thick, he had to concede. They were literally on the House floor or the Senate floor beating the hell out of each other.
Oh, yeah. It was real back then. It was real back then. Niggas was getting their ass whooped.
Going to the backyard, pulling out the hammers, right?
All right, state legislative. I lived in Mississippi. Had the largest state legislative in the country of Blacks, all Republicans. All of them was. So see, this is the thing. The modern party would try to trick niggas with the old shit.
Right.
And the old Democrats are the conservatives. because we had to do is what you call fucking what's the shit in school? In the 9th grade, you had one joint, civics. That takes civics. This is just state government. Right. You just learning about state government. You know what I'm saying? So you get the whole state history.
What's up, man? Your man, New York. God is absolutely smarter than he looks. Yo. Yeah. Gutter, do you think they should push civics back into school though? Because now it is people are
so because like this one thing in Mississippi, and it's a fucked up country. We learned it was fucked up. You got to remember, Mississippi was the richest. They had the most millionaires in the country. So you really can't hide. Like
how they got rich.
Really they couldn't hide.
Because now was the millionaires white?
Their background. But like Mississippi ain't give a fuck. Like when I went to school down there, they ain't give a fuck.
That's what I'm saying, Gutter. So the millionaires were white because I know Mississippi has some of the poorest black people in the country.
This is the poorest. Yeah. That's the poorest state in the country right now.
Right.
The poorest state, but it was the richest. It held the richest. It had the
the most millionaires.
Once they got that money, Jack. Because and it was a lot of like because I lived in the town Mount Bayou, that was all black people. You know what I'm saying? I lived in Mount Bayou. You know what I'm saying? I lived in Mount Bayou, so that's a historical town. You know what I'm saying? And it was a former plantation.
So one of the baddest black men came out of Mississippi. We're gonna talk about him tomorrow on Thorough Black Talk. But
who's that? Charles
Orwell. Oh man, the baddest black man to come out of Mississippi.
They end up murking them, but that's like it was a badass white boy abolitionist from Tennessee.
What was his name?
Damn, I forgot his name, bro. I'm gonna have that tomorrow. I'm gonna have that information for you the next time we lock in.
Being in Tennessee,
because it's black
all you immigrants, you should know who that man was. Samson Keeble, who came out of Mississippi, because Samson Keeble sat on the committee for immigration, and he was working closely with Booker T. Washington to help bring y'all asses over here. So you shouldn't know his name.
Right, the immigrants, right? Well, let me ask y'all something, because the time is flying. We got about 10 minutes left, and there's still so much history but I mean, of course, we be back Friday night, and we could continue this conversation on the history of Black Americans and us actually building up this nation. But how much of the modern Brooklyn stands on the shoulders of these pioneers? Because we got brothers like our ancestor now, G2 Iusi and Sonny Abubadika Carson. We know Brooklyn has been a stronghold for the Black liberation movement and things like that. Do you think it's been strengthened, erased, or watered down and diluted?
It most certainly has been diluted.
Oh, hold on. And we can't forget, we can't forget the attorney at war, Alton Maddox.
Right. He operated in Brooklyn. He lived in Harlem, but he was from Georgia. And I know a lot of people like G2, but I don't, because I know things behind the scenes. But that's another story for another time. Whatever. You get me round up, Tad.
I got a few. I know a few people that are in opposition to Homeboy.
All right, but you were saying the movement is diluted, sis. You were saying the movement.
With the current political apparatus, the community input definitely diluted. But thanks to, the U.S. Freedmen Project, Brooke, myself, y'all, it's on a comeback. So get the hell out of our way.
Yeah. All right, sis, you've been in this movement for generations now, from a cub to now an elder statesperson in the movement. What direction do you think our community should be going, and what do you think are holding them back? Because, you know, sometimes we be at odds with those who hold on to old ideas and things like that. What should we be fighting for right now collectively as a Black community?
One of the things that I had to do personally is relearn everything I thought I knew. And I've always been an intelligent Black woman. I have never been dumb. But I had to relearn everything. And it all started out with me reconnecting with branches of my family back in 2011. I had to start from scratch. Everything that I thought I knew was wrong. The majority of it was wrong because you only got part of a story. And sometimes people like to stick with part of a story because of how it makes them feel, right? And how it makes them feel. And they live on that. But that's not what history is for. History is to help you see the complete picture. So you may like a particular narrative about a history, and that's that author's narrative of a particular part of the story, but it's not the whole story. For example, when you look at slavery, we were taught that we were kidnapped from Africa, and the white man was the worst of it. Not saying that he wasn't. We were not kidnapped. There was a bartering. We were sold. And the more you look into this, you're like, God damn it, I got to start from scratch. But a lot of people don't want to look at that avenue because it changes your feeling. And you can't look at history that way. You got to look at the whole picture. You got to look at the whole picture. Because if you don't, the roadmap that you think you're on is totally wrong. And so when you have a lot of people who have a particular mindset like Pan-Africanism, you're losing because your information is antiquated. Your ideal is antiquated. And you have to shift. You have to know how to pivot like we did. The Brooklyn of yesteryear is no longer. And so when our parents, grandparents, and us, we had to pivot around the avenues that we were given. So learn how to pivot, relearn some things. I love New York. He's hilarious.
Yeah.
Learn some things and, start with you. Because when you look at like I said, my mother's side, when I started to research the family history, reconnecting with branches that were broken off, getting the full picture of what happened, then having an actual receipt of your ancestor that was sold, I don't want nothing to do with Africa. Nothing. He said in his memoir, in so many words, F them. And I'm standing on his shoulders. I will never betray him for nobody. And so till you have that information, till you have that receipt, you don't know what the hell you talking about.
Sis, we was on this type of time over 10 years ago before it was popular. And that's when we were, really holding Pan-African up high. But in doing our research, we looked into our own lineage. We looked, in fact, with my youth group, that was one of the projects I always loved having with them. Because as much as we talk about elders and ancestors, I had people do their own family tree. Who are your elders? Who are your ancestors? Tell the children, go sit and talk with your grandparents and ask them who's the oldest relative they remember in their family. And I did that with both sides of my family, but I really remember, I knew both of my grandmothers' mothers. Never really got to talk to them. And even my grandmother Bernice, my father's mother, I was able to sit with her and ask her that question. Who's the oldest person in the family she remember? And she was raised by her grandmother, Sophie Mitchell, who was the mother of my great-grandmother, Helen Hooker, who I knew, who's my grandma Bernice. So getting that family history, and I got pictures. But then I went to the Schomburg Research and Culture Center and pulled up the documents. They don't give them to you as easy now. I went last year, and you can't just get the documents no more. Now you got to go to Hall of Records and all these other places. But back in 2015, 2014, I was able to look at birth certificates. And I saw my great-grandmother's birth certificate. And she was not a Negro. She was later changed to a Negro after Dr. Walter Plecker in the paper Genocide. But to the point, because I always tell people, right, sis, I'm not beating up Pan-Africans because there's a lot of Pan-Africans that I do love. But we do have to update our information, because the deeper we research, this is about us, right? We did a lot of studying as the group, collectively as the group, Black people as the group. We took a story, we ran with it, we upheld it, we did anything that would conflict what we were programmed to think. Like our brother Divine said, that became our identity. That's why I went to Africa so many times. You know, even when I got there, I was reminded that I'm not from there. It was always, are you mulatto? Because I'm light skinned. Are you mulatto? What? Oh, you American? You American? Nah, I'm an African. What part? And then you get stuck. Well, I don't know. My people were stolen, and you know the rhetoric. But as you stated, when you really do a deep dive and you learn that people were sold, when you learn that, because I learned that in Ghana, when you go to Kumasi, to the King's Palace, they talk about the people that they slaved, and after you bust a dude head open, you make a mask of his face and put it on your sword. So this had nothing to do with the Europeans. And then I also went to Big Ada, to what's called the Asafo Tufiyami, which means warrior gunfighting. And what they do is every year they reinforce the truce that they had amongst the people beefing, the God people, the Ashanti people, and things like that. So they recognize their internal conflicts prior to the European invasion. So we were programmed here to dismiss anything that hold people on the continent responsible. Because again, there's so much information, and we could go deep into that, but that's not what tonight is about. Tonight is about Brooklyn and the freedom fighters. However, somebody asked a question on social media. Shout out to our sister Mari. She asked the question, why are so many Pan-Africans turning FBA? And my thing was, it's not that Pan-Africans are turning FBA. Many people who are Pan-African are FBA, and we are now acknowledging our lineage. You can be FBA and still be Pan-African. Pan-African is a political ideology.
Right.
However, us claiming our historic lineage after being here for centuries is ignored and thumbed at and made fun of. And like, hold up, I ain't no sucker now. You ain't going to schoolyard bully me and play with me either. I could be Pan-African and I'm FBA, just like a Haitian could be Pan-African and Haitian. A Jamaican could be Pan-African and Jamaican. But for some reason, people try to treat us like the white man treat us and tell us we got to be who they say we are and we can't identify ourselves. Fuck out of here. Kuji Chagalia is the second principle of Kwanzaa, which is self-determination. I define myself. You don't define me. And if I can't practice self-determination, I'm not fucking with you. Point blank, period. And I'm not scared of you because you can't beat me. How about that part? Because our history and legacy is fighting and resistance. But go ahead, Gunnar. I'm sorry.
Just like you said, bro, people misconstrue the two. They think FBA is an ideology. That's not an ideology. That's a lineage, my nigga. Anybody who has heritage of all these years here, you're an FBA.
That's it.
Just that simple. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And we don't have no common.
Yeah, I don't understand where people don't like. I think because people have political ideals and they say they FBA, then you connect everybody with that person's political ideas.
And that's not the case.
That's not the case, my nigga.
That's not the case.
FBA is just telling people like, yo, this is certain shit that you do come from us. So when all you people throughout the internet, throughout the world that say that Black Americans don't have a culture, this that you do, how you walk, how you talk, certain words you say,
Tell
you know what I'm saying? The way you dress, that's a benefit of us.
Yeah. They're emulating us.
That you're emulating FBA.
And you know what's crazy, Gutter? Because when I was doing trips to Africa and when I had the youth group and we was taking the people around, a lot of quote unquote Pan-Africans weren't as supportive. The people who was really coming were actually people who wanted to learn, not the people who knew everything already. It was the people that wanted to learn. That's why I got a great appreciation for our brother Marcus Klein, who graced us with his presence here. You know, that's why I love that Gutter, you see, anytime we call Professor Kaba, he's coming. Yeah. Whether we's downtown or we like pull up, because that's these people know my efforts. They know how I am. I'm sincere and I'm authentic. I'm not asking nobody for money. I'm just saying, let's support one another. Let's really get on code, because the whole thing about FBA and Pan-Africanism right now, and I don't want to beat this dead horse, is that a lot of Pan-Africans are anti-FBA. It's not FBA, it's anti-Pan-African. And people are upset that you think you gonna use us as a whipping boy and we just gonna stand here and be silent. You out your rabbit ass mind. You can't disrespect me and ask me to respect you. And I promise you, God, like dudes I really thought was solid, I really stopped rocking with, because dudes ain't about that life. I mean, me and you from Fulton, so we about that life. We about that life. We about that action. But the whole thing is, we looking for unity with like-minded people, and they ain't there.
Certain things I learned from growing up in New York.
Yo, your man, New York.
Yeah. Yo. Yo. Hey.
That's your man, Gutter.
People, like, I don't know. People would be mad that we proud to be from here. Like, yo, like my Islander, yo, like first, you like Yankee, I'll let you know that's a diss, my nigga. I'm not no Yankee. Word. You talking about the government. I'm not part of the government. You know what I'm saying? So most people will get us fucked up with being part of the system. No, we're Black Americans. We got a whole different system, my nigga. That, you know what I'm saying? We got a whole different, so don't like, and that's what a lot of people like. This is what most of the ignorant get confused. They get confused that we love the situation we in and the no, we ain't, nigga. If it was up to me, this shit would crash and burn tomorrow, because I know no matter what, we still gonna be here. You know what I'm saying? This shit can all crash and burn tomorrow. Survival of the fittest, nigga, we gonna survive. I don't care how many burners them niggas got and all that. They not coming where we at, and we know how to be self-sufficient.
And that's a fact. And I like that you said that, because it reminds me of the Maroons down in the swamps in Florida and in the Carolinas, you know, where them folks couldn't get our people in the swamps, where our folks fled the plantation, retreated to the. They couldn't do it. Crack couldn't do it. The lynchings couldn't do it.
All over the United States. That's why I say we had a lot of Maroon, Great Dismal Swamp, that big shit in Texas, motherfucker, that Louisiana. It was a bunch of communities living right there, whacking them devils on a regular basis. And all them communities, them people knew.
Yeah.
And I can catch him, I'm gonna catch him. But I ain't trying to go get caught by them, because they knew it was a death sentence.
You know, there's a scene in Roots, right? That I really love Roots. Now that I'm older and I've read enough and I get to see things that I missed as a child, because all I remember was what's your name, Kunta Kinte. That's all I remember, right? As a kid. As I got older and I looked at it, people keep forgetting that there was a Union soldier that essayed Kunta's descendant, Tom. Remember, I think it was Chicken George's son. Chicken George's son was Tom, because I think Chicken George mother was Kizzy. And then Kizzy had Chicken George. Chicken George had a son, Tom.
Yeah.
Tom had a wife that got SA'd by a Union soldier. But what we keep forgetting is Tom choked him out and drowned him where you water the horses. Tom choked him out and then drowned him. And I say that because that little piece of our resistance, sometimes it gets omitted because when people talk enslavement, people act like we didn't fight back and we didn't put hands and feet on people. Meanwhile, you got people fleeing their home country coming here telling us we didn't do nothing. But when our history shows all we did was fight. Even
during the Black Codes, a lot of them people a lot of men that was jetting from down south, that was because they done put in work and had to leave.
That's right.
It wasn't a lot of people that was getting chased, my nigga.
Word.
They was getting chased by the law, but it was after they done put that work in. I was like, yo, we got to get up out of here, because these white folks ain't gonna do this to me that they did to Jimmy down the road.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I said, bro, Fiddler.
Yeah, he called you Fiddler. Don't you go talking that African guinea talk. You in America now. Your name Toby.
Yo, this was crazy, right? Nigga told my pops he looked like Lou Gossett.
Word.
It's back in the days, bro. When we walking up the block. You know what I'm saying? Yo, that nigga said, damn, see, your pops is Lou Gossett.
Oh man, I like what Sister Brooks said. People forget that Kunta kept telling American blacks they was Africans, and they told them that they were Americans. That's true. His wife Belle. Remember, Kizzy's mother was Belle, and Belle was like, I ain't no African.
You got to remember.
And speaking of Louis Gossett, he too was born in Brooklyn. Coney Allen, stand up.
Shout out to Louis Gossett Jr.
But you got to remember, by the time Kunta got caught, first of all, you got to remember we was already over here. You know what I'm saying? Then in waves. You know what I'm saying? In waves. Black people came in waves from different corners of because Papuan, you know what I'm saying, is he black, but he's not African.
Right. And you know, it was crazy because we go into overtime. And I'm glad you said that, Gutter, because I've had conversations with people who try to dismiss Laron's Bennett work before the Mayflower and Ivan Van Sertima's book. They came before Columbus and Dr. Imhotep, Dr. David Imhotep book, The First Americans Were Africans. It's amazing on how people try to dismiss the work of the scholars, but then use it when it's appropriate to support their argument. And I'm like, we having disingenuous conversations now. Because a lot of black people have been like, prior to our enslavement. Yes.
We got so many, like, we are amalgamation of different cultures, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? You had early black people came over here. Then another wave came over here. Then another wave came over here. And then enslaved people were brought over here. So you got a different mixing of three waves. Then, like I said, bro, half of them Europeans that was brought over here was black.
Yeah,
we already talked about the Irish and what's the name?
Yeah.
So
even the Black English. And tomorrow we'll be talking about one of the first tethers of Black Englishmen on the show tomorrow.
But I'm talking about from back then.
Yeah,
it was black people was coming over here as indentured service, and then when them Irish when they was fighting, and they gave them that white card, you stuck. You in servitude for perpetuity.
Yeah.
That's after the Bacon's Rebellion. You know what I'm saying? So these when these black Europeans were coming over here, because he already said, Queen Elizabeth already said she wanted to get rid of all these Moors that were coming in England, and it was too many. Same thing with the Dutch. Same thing with the Spanish. You got to remember the Moors is over there for 800 years. So you know it was. You got to be fucking kidding me if you think all them niggas. Where you think all them niggas disappeared to in Europe?
Mm-hmm.
They just disappeared, like from the 17th century on up. They just disappeared.
And who, I'm trying to think what elder said this in one of the Hidden Colors. He was saying that St. Patrick's was the patron saint because he got all the snakes out of Ireland, but he said he wasn't talking about Ireland. He was talking about the black folk.
Yeah, he was talking about the black folk.
And he was using the snakes because of the Uraeus.
The same thing with the same thing with the people in what would be Transylvania now.
Right.
They said there's so much they learn what they learned from the snakeheads and then killed them.
Right. And our history is so deep and vast because, like you said, the waves of black people coming to these shores, we just can't ignore that the transatlantic, Baba Baruti don't call it the slave trade. He call it, we call it the Mayafa, the great suffering.
Yeah.
This is one of the greatest human atrocities in recorded human history that was recognized for bringing us here. But we got to acknowledge that there were a lot of us here prior to, and this is what we're unpacking because we're in the information age now. We don't have to write letters across the world no more. We can literally get on our phone and get on FaceTime and talk to somebody in China, Africa in real time. We could literally be there. We don't have to wait for somebody to filter the information and give us their slant. As you said, Sister Keisha, in the beginning, when they control the narrative, we can deduce our own narrative based on the information we get. I don't need you to tell me what I'm looking at. I know what I'm looking at. Provided, I get enough information and context, but we know how these folks spin it, and we're here to unpack it all. So as an FBA, I'm saying my beef ain't really with other black people, only if you want beef. My beef is with the system and the mindset of those who think oppressing my folks is cool. We're not doing that. To my Pan-African brothers and sisters, hopefully y'all catch up somewhere along the line, because as people see, right, sis, right, bro, they see that the FBA is building momentum that is truly being recognized all over the place. And I promise you, in a couple of years, if not 1 year, that the census is going to change also to recognize us. And I want to thank our brother Divine and our sister Brooke for constantly putting that work and agitating the consciousness of the people, because what they're doing is very important. And as I always say, every day we here, we making history. But it's after 8. Sister Keisha, what you want to lead the people with before we jump up out of here?
Y'all have a good rest of the week. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this platform. Share this platform. We truly appreciate it. Send the emails, as Brooke said. Follow us tomorrow on Thorough Black Talk at 8 p.m. We're going to dive deep into some Black history. We got our brother Knowledge Born Our Law coming on. So we got a lot to unpack tomorrow. So tune in to Thorough Black Talk on YouTube tomorrow.
Cutter, what you want to lead the people with?
Just know, especially on this, like a lot of history is on this continent. Black history. You know what I'm saying? You got to remember, President Guerrero of Mexico was half black, half indigenous, half India over there. Not well, different natives. You know what I'm saying? Over there. So the oldest bones, you know what I'm saying, of in the Americas, period, are of Black people. You know what I'm saying? You can't really know the exact region. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, a Papuan, you know what I'm saying, a Sentinelese Islander, Black, look just like any other African. You know what I mean? But they got a distinct look. Like somebody not from there would assume that they African, but they not. They've been there over 80,000 years. So Yeah. Not African no more. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the same thing with Papua New Guinea. You know what I'm saying? People from the Pacific Islands that any other person would be like, oh, damn, that's Africa. You know what I'm saying? That's the same thing with us. Yeah, we look like that. Of course, everybody's ancestry comes from Africa. That's common sense. Hello. But it had been branches off. So once you done left there for millennia, my nigga, you're not African anymore. You done created a whole entire new culture.
Just look at the Japanese, the Chinese.
Exactly. They came from Africans.
The Russians, Vladimir Putin and
no,
the like.
That's what I'm saying. The Chinese, Japanese come from Southern and West Africans.
That's my point, yes.
That's their genetic line is from Southern, from the San people, and from the West of culturally, West Africa, Edo, because it's certain places, it's places in modern day Nigeria, but these names been there. Shang, Edo, certain shit like that. So, all right, but is they Nigerian anymore? I mean, well, Nigeria wasn't Nigeria then.
Right. How about that
like,
part?
Nobody could ask
me. Until 1884, right?
Yeah,
when that white lady named it.
Those were kingdoms. Those were kingdoms and tribal empires, kingdoms, and tribal areas. You know what I'm saying? So once they leave from there for millennia, that's just like Abu Bakari,
right?
Mansa Musa's older brother, that left him the kingdom and went. Once he left, he's gone. He never came back. What do you think them people is? Wherever he landed at, that's where they from.
Yeah.
All his descendants is from there because they never came back. So now what's going to happen? They came in, they mingled with other cultures and created a whole new culture.
Yep. That was a dope note to leave it on. So family, hopefully you was inspired by something you heard here tonight. It's your turn to go out and inspire others. Don't forget to tap in tomorrow, the Thorough Black Talk World View. My sister K Fighter gonna be laying it down some more. Me and Gutter be back here next Friday. This Friday. Hopefully our sister is freed up and she could join us again and drop some more of this heavy wisdom on y'all. Right? But don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your family, share with your peoples. Let them know we here giving up this goodness. You know what I'm saying? We giving up some of this OG wisdom. So y'all stay up, stay blessed, stay true, and remember, no matter how hard things seem right now, it's always better days ahead. Peace, family. We out. 8 p.m., David, 8 p.m.